Let's go back in time before we get into some of the recent work and goings-ons. Let's go way back, man. You got some rich history in the automotive industry. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, we want to know.
What do you want to know?
Well, everything.
Well, I don't want to
everything.
I don't want to sound like standard radio question or podcast style, but
right.
How'd you get your start?
How to get started? Your very first car, that kind of stuff.
No. I want to get into what inspired you. We'll get into the car. No, I really want to get into this.
What inspired me? Well, it goes back to Dad. My dad was a drag racer, sprint car driver. And when I was born, Mom said, quit racing. So you can't tell that to a car guy. So he just started building cars, bikes, trucks, whatever he get his hands on. And so I grew up in the garage. I mean, I literally started handing him wrenches. And, of course, it was the wrong size, And I've always been working on cars. That was the norm. Dad was a normal blue-collar worker and then was a mechanic on the side. And everybody used to hang out at the house on weekends, getting their cars ready for street racing back in the day, making their, I guess you could say, making their bets back in the day on Friday night, because on Saturday they'd all go to Lions Drag Strip or the local drag strip in your town, the runway airports. And that's just how it was. It was normal for me. I didn't know any better. I didn't know anything else. I mean, my playground was a 55 Chevy Gasser with the engine out of it. I climbed on the straight axle, up through the firewall, up on the roof, slide down the back window of the trunk. That was just my playground. That's just how it was.
Vaughn, I got to throw this out there. Today's day and age, let's jump into the future classics. Some of these Nissan Zs and these Supras.
GTRs.
Are you still seeing that diehard passion? Because my concern is about car culture there.
Yeah, I am. And, they made fun of us when we were growing up, the older generation, of, why are you guys driving those Camaros? Those things are so small. You need a big, fat, standard car. They made fun of us when they did muscle cars, and that's their muscle car of the time. I mean, they financed it where we used to save all our pennies and cut grass to, put on a set of hijackers or Kragers. And these guys are doing the same passion. It's just a different era, different car. They've got enough passion and money in these cars that, you shouldn't make fun of them because it's still the car culture. It's still a passion that they have. The common ground is the music, the muscle, and the engine sound. It may be a different sound. It's not quite a V8 big block Chevy. It's more of a, tuned turbo style of a sound that they like.
Yeah.
True.
On that note, I got to mention this because we're always keeping an eye on this because California said in 2035, no more ICE vehicles sold. Can you give me the temperature on the ground there within the car community? Are people bailing out of California and saying, screw that, we're going to, we're not, we want to, is that going to affect anything? I mean, some folks will say, no, Frank, that's going to be like 30 years out. What's the sentiment?
Yeah, I don't know. It's really a gamble because you go to the city, diehard city, downtown city, let's call it L.A., and, there is electric cars all over the place. They're great for scooting around town, little electric scooters. But you get on the outskirts of L.A., get into the rural areas, get into Orange County, Riverside County, wherever you're at, and it's all different. It's still the culture is still about cars. It's still about petrol. I just did a show a couple of months ago, and the promoter was a little concerned because of the gas. Our prices are very high, and his car show is on the fairgrounds, and he has a cruising route. And it usually takes about 2 hours for you to make the loop. And he was worried that people aren't going to show up because the gas is so expensive. Everything has gone up. And he had over 3,000 cars show up. It took 2.5 hours to make the loop. There was no end in sight, as in everybody attended. It was well attended, and it was just really, really packed. So the fuel prices did not affect it. Everybody still made the loop. I saw the same car go by, 6-7 times on a tank of gas. And these guys are running gassers. They're running, none of these cars get miles to gallon. It's always gallons to a mile. So nobody gets really the 10 miles a gallon stuff. And they're just out there spending money, enjoying their times with their family in the car. And all the pickup beds had, they're full of kids in the back, throwing out candy, having American flags and balloons. And it was really, really a good up boost for that event and also for the promoter.
Right.
Yeah, I got a theory on that. Greg, I want you to chime in. Von Hot Rod, I also want to hear your take. I think the freedom.
Yep, that is true.
Look, the fact is this. Look, whether you work for somebody, you work. It's work. Whether you're in business for yourself, you're working for your client. You work. You work.
Absolutely.
But the freedom that you get, I think people will pay $15 of gas to get their hoopty on a raceway and have that expression, that individual style to their ride. And again, I don't care if it's a Model 3 that you put a big block in.
Nope.
Vaughn, what say you, man?
Yeah, definitely. I always encourage the older generation to take a kid for a ride in his car because there's nothing like going through the gears, get a good wheel chirp on first gear, chirping it in the second gear, and pushing that kid against the seat. Once you experience that, whether it be, big block Chevy, big block Ford, or you're doing it in your electric car, there is nothing cooler than that. And we've got to let these kids experience that kind of passion and that kind of what that feels like to drift around a corner or to go up on a windy road. And, just to hear the tires gripping the ground or hear the motor rumbling in the background, that to me is just get your adrenaline running.
I'm saying all four wheels. I don't care if he's got a golf cart. Get out there.
Right.
Get your freedom on.
Absolutely. Get out there. Go for it. Go for a ride.
All right, let's take you back. 21st birthday, man. You were celebrating. You had your first drink, maybe, and you broke ground on your dream shop out of Fontana.
Yes.
Talk to us about that.
Yes, absolutely I did. Pretty much my whole life, that's what I wanted was my own hot rod shop. I wanted to build cars, and everything I wanted to do was with cars, and I did. Saved all the money I possibly can. I cut grass, I trimmed trees, I did anything I can. I had a really good job in Rancho Cucamonga. The pay was great. I had my own office, secretary, the whole shot, and I just walked in one day and quit because I had stockpiled some money and said, I'm going to open up my own business, and I went for it. I totally went for it, and I started out at 1,300 square feet, just a little business, just to get my feet wet, to learn, what is out there, and I just hustled with it. We became one of the largest hot rod shops in the industry, and that branched off into so many other businesses that I didn't even, plan on going with. I listened to my customers. They basically told me which direction to take my shop, and that's what we did. I took a chance on things, and we were very successful. It was a lot of fun. I have no regrets.
A lot of folks post-COVID, and with the respect of the lunacy of what we had to go through during post-COVID. But one of the things that happened was there was an uptick in, like, folks had no choice. They had to get down with their entrepreneurial self, whether they knew they had it or not, and they created their own business. Vaughn, going back to when you were 21, you had the drive, you had the passion, you had the courage to do what you do. You believed in it. Give us one thing, because there's youngsters listening. They want to go on their own path. What advice would you give to someone that's out there? Now, I know we could write a book on it, but what would you say?
It's just do it. Take the chance. If you ask somebody for help or you ask your businessman that's in the same business that you want to get into, there's only two answers they can give you. They can only say yes or no. If they say no, you try something else. If they say yes, well, hey, you're halfway there. The idea is just to get out and try it. The problem is a lot of kids, I teach a lot of classes. I go to universities and I speak at universities, and the kids always ask, how much money am I going to make? Where can I get a job? And I always say, if you're chasing the dollar now, you're going to chase the dollar the rest of your life. You might as well get a job where you clock in and clock out, because owning your own business, it gives you freedom. That's it. Owning your own business, the money will come. That's not a problem. But the idea is you got to have the passion, the drive to be willing to work 10-hour days, 15-hour days, sometimes for free, because it's your drive, it's your dream, it's your passion. I can't tell you how many times I literally broke into my savings owning my own business, thinking, this is it. This is all the money I got. This is it. I can't make it next week. And, then we get the big job or whatever the case may be, and we dig ourselves out of it. But it's my dream. It's nobody else's. Nobody else sacrificed. I'm the one that did the sacrifices. I'm the one that invested money, lost money, made a product, didn't work, made a product, was successful. those failures built me to what I am today. You have to be willing to fail. And most kids are scared. They don't want to fail. But that's how you learn. You chalk it up to, I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to do something else. And most kids are just scared to fail. And, we live in a click-and-go society. Everything has to be quick, 30 seconds to get your attention and on to the next thing. Own your own business, your passion, your drive is not like that. When I go out there and teach, I teach them all the secrets on how to do this or how to do that, how to take a product from your thought process to on the shelf. But I can't teach the drive or the passion that has to be in you. You've got to be willing to put in those hours and that time. And like I said, the money will come. That's the easy part. It's building and hearing the rejections and failing. That's the hard part. That's the trick of owning your own business.
Yeah, and I got to speak to my parents. I'm a parent.
Yep.
I'm a parent. I get it.
Yep.
And sometimes as parents, we're trying to live our kids' life for some odd, goofy, whatever situation we didn't get or we did get. And I think allowing your kids, if you see the spark and interest, you should allow them to go that route.
Absolutely.
And I know some of you parents are like, well, I'm not having that. This society is dangerous right now, and we can't have that. I want you to stay tuned. Von Hot Rod, hang with us. We're going to talk more about your rockabilly dance and swing club. Boy, you've done a ton of stuff, and we are going to get into some of the amazing pinstriping works. If you're just joining us, visit VonHotRodShop.com. Stay tuned, Branch Nation. We got Von Hot Rod on the line. Let's bring him back. Von, welcome back, baby.
Thank you.
Hey, we got to mention this before we deep dive into some more of this journey.
Yes.
When we mentioned, like, early on the show here, Legend don't count if you're not paying it forward. Please tell us, you've got an incredible charity project coming up. Talk to us about that.
Yes, I do a lot with, it's called Teen Challenge, and what it is, it's a rehab center for teens, and it's a year program. And if teens are addicted to any kind of substance, pornography, or whatever it may be, you enter them into this program, and it's a year long, and they teach them how to pretty much do everything in life, how to take care of themselves, be independent, along with maintenance, along with gardening, along with doing your own laundry. And it's a really tight schedule that they offer, and it's all done by donation. It's state-based, so everything, they get no government help. And so I raise money for them. So what's the best way to raise money is do what I do best, is put on a car show. So we put on this car show called the Benedict Castle Concours. It's at their headquarters, and then there's a castle in Riverside where the original Hunchback of Notre Dame was filmed, and it's there in Riverside. It was donated to a family, then it got sold, and then Teen Challenge ended up with it. And there's about 200 students that are on campus. They take care of the castle. They do weddings there and stuff like that. And before COVID, we did the event. It's a 400-car limit because that's only as many cars as I can get on the grounds. I mean, I put cars on the tennis courts. I put them around the pool. I put them everywhere you can possibly think of. And we raised right at $300,000 last year in a 5-hour show, and I think that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that is incredible,
man. One, I tell you that it's a fundraiser. So we want you to register your car. We want you to do the VIP lunch. We want you to do the VIP castle tour. Buy a raffle ticket, buy a T-shirt, because the money goes right there on campus. You can see evidence of your money being, spent right there with the students. Since we started this show, this will be our 7th one, there have been 12 Hot Rod families that knew nothing about Teen Challenge that have put their kids in it and have been successful stories because of them attending a car show. Their kids were going through some stuff, and they put them in the program for a year, and they came out of it, and they're doing very well. So we have saved 12 kids because of this car show, and to me, that's
That's awesome.
Yeah, listen, man, I'm telling you, you're listening right now. Get out of #fake news. I'm saying put automotive peoples in government. That's what I'm saying. Benedict Castle, Concours.com. I'm leaning on our audience, especially our KMET family. You got some time. This is in May, correct?
Yeah, May 21, 2023. And I always say that, if you can't help, you can't attend to the car show, do me one favor. You can go without one lunch time and donate that money to Teen Challenge. If 100 people go without their $10 lunch, look how much that raises.
Sure.
And that goes to a great, great cause. I mean, I do a live auction there. I auction off items. I do a silent auction. And at random, I say, okay, everybody that's used to buying your $5 coffee at Starbucks, you can go one day without your $5 your donation, and give it to the kids. And we raised a couple $100 from people just giving $5. And if we all work together, it makes it so much easier than such a burden. Sometimes we can't rely on the big $10,000 donors that'll come in and give 10 grand. But we can rely on the car people to go without a lunch or to go without their coffee and donate, their $5-10. And, some can give more, and that's great. But it's hard times. It's hard all around. And those of us that can do it, give the $10 because it literally stays in our country, in the United States. It helps kids here in our country. Your money's not going overseas. It's not paying for staffing. It doesn't go in my pocket. 100% of it goes to these teens to get them a different lookout in life and to get them going and be successful. I got a couple of people that work for SEMA that have went through the program. I got a couple of people that work for McGuire's that went through the program.
Yeah, that's serious.
You never know. All it is giving somebody a break. That's all they need.
No doubt. And I'm telling you right now, put that Al Pacino macchiato down. That $8 drink, man, $8 to help a kid out because a lot of you are seeing it on the news. You're getting depressed.
Yep.
The situation with our teens is serious. All right.
Yeah,
as well as I'll just throw it out there. And I don't give a crap if I get hate on it. Our homeless population, we're giving up on these people. And a lot of these kids are coming from the homeless population.
True.
Mom and dad, for whatever reason, we're not here to judge. So when you do see these events, even if you ain't got it, you don't want to give up on the Al Pacino macchiato. I'm saying spend your time. There's stuff to do. And as a society, I'll put the big L behind legend for Von Hot Rod because as a society, stop complaining. Do something about it. I don't care if you basket weave for a living. I don't care what you do. If you put little lapels on suits for a living, spend the time and make a difference. And what you're doing is honorable. Benedict Castle, Concours.com. Of course, VonHotRod.com as well. Now, listen, we got to get to the juice.
Yeah.
Juice.
The juice. Now, how do you go from an automotive shop? You did what you did. You had all kinds of hoopties in the shop. You loved it. And then you went out and said, let me open up me a little rockabilly club.
It's a crazy thing because the hot rod shop, everything started from the hot rod shop, the passion to have this hot rod shop. And as the shop got bigger and more popular, I've always had this look. The look when you see pictures on me on social media, I've always had this look. So everybody wants to know, where did you get your chain wallet? Where do you get your shoes, jeans, and so on and so forth? And I've always had those shirts that I wear made for me with, like leopard racing stripes or flames on it. And I've always had them made one-offs. And so guys started asking, where can I get this? And I said, well, I can make you one. They're expensive. And they're like, oh, we don't care. So I started making 1 shirt, 2 shirts, 5 shirts, and then that opened up into a clothing line. Well, then on the girl side of it, when the girls would come to the shop, their boyfriends would come and shop, or husbands, the girls would just stand there. I was like, well, that's a potential customer. So I started talking to them, come to find out that there wasn't any cool clothes in the motorsports industry that didn't have naked girls or skulls or devils on it. So we just started doing fun stuff for girls. And this year we celebrated 32 years of Hot Rod Girl clothing line in business. We started a clothing line called Hot Rod Girl. I've owned that for 32 years. And I know this is a long story, but as I'm listening to customers, I used to have these open house car shows at my place. I built the shop as a, slash museum, slash diner, so you can come look at it and spend some time there while you're car shopping. There was a lot of stuff to see. I had glass cases with memorabilia and stuff like that. So I started having these open house car shows for a destination for people to come see my shop. One day it rained. I always book a band. My parking lot would hold about, right at about 300 cars, crammed in there. One day it rained, so I moved everything in my warehouse to the corner, and I had the band play in the corner. I said, just play on the floor. I'll open up the garage door, and just let people in so they can listen to you. So while it's raining, I went in and checked in on them. The band's playing. People are dancing. I had a barbecue going, so people are in there eating, just sitting on the floor. And I thought, you know what? This is a really good idea. So come Monday morning, I moved everything out of the warehouse. I spent a week building the warehouse into a club. It was non-alcoholic. We had a tiki bar in there. We had restrooms. I put a pool table. I put my pinball machines in there. I made cocktail tables, put in the dance floor and a stage. And we opened up Hot Rod's Hangout, which is a rockabilly jump swing club.
Wow.
We were doing live bands every Friday night, and it became an iconic place to play. The bands that play there, they'd always say, the places to play is the Brown Derby in Hollywood, the Doll Hut in Anaheim, and Hot Rod's Hangout in Norco, California. So that's exactly how I did it. I fell into it. I never owned a club in my entire life. And it worked. It was a lot of fun. The club gave me another avenue because as people were coming in, they asked if I rent the place out. And I said, yeah, of course I do. I rent it out all the time, which I did not. So I rented the club out. We started doing banquets there. We started doing weddings there. And I totally fell into renting the club out, which opened up Hot Rod's entertainment and production company where we do corporate banquets for big companies.
But isn't it? I mean, what
just
you're
think if
saying?
it didn't rain that day.
Yeah, but you know
If
what?
It didn't rain. Yeah, it didn't rain.
Vaughn,
But here's the thing: is take a chance of doing it. I knew nothing about owning a club. I knew nothing about doing a banquet. I pretty much made it up as I went. And yes, I failed. Yes, there's time. I remember the first time I rented the club out. I had to rent tables and chairs and linens and napkins and forks and get a caterer. I literally broke even. I didn't make any money. But I made money, and I learned on the second one. The second time I rented it out, I learned, and I made money, and so on and so forth. And then the corporate banquet stuff, I've done stuff for Kawasaki motorcycles. They spent $250,000 on a weekend party that I threw for them. I booked bands. I booked entertainment from Vegas.
Wow.
And, stuff like that I can't make up. I totally just...
Well, listen, we haven't even gotten to the pinstriping yet. We're going to get there.
know.
But what comes to mind, a mutual friend, in fact, Greg, you were just out at the Peterson Museum.
Magnus Walker?
Here it is. I know Magnus Walker.
Yes.
You, Magnus Walker, I got to jump in on that because I'm a go from the gut kind of guy. I mean, I do follow metrics, but what do they say? Planning kills magic.
True.
And Magnus has a very similar story. By the way, that show 231, this is back in 2021. Magnus came on and talked about, and he has a TEDx out there. He went from his gut. And Vaughn, that's what you, and
doing the same thing.
It kept going for you.
Yeah, the thing is, nobody said I couldn't do it. I mean, people later on say, well, how did you do it? I go, I just did it. I didn't. Nobody said I couldn't do it. If I did, well, if I failed, I know I can't do that. Here's the funny part is, as the bands are playing, people are going, well, I want to buy a CD. And none of these bands had CDs. And I thought, well, how hard can that be? It just takes time and effort. So I opened up Vaughn Hot Rod Records. I own a record label that I book these bands on my label and then get them gigs and stuff like that. I know nothing about the music industry. All from this hot rod shop, listening to customers, and just nobody told me no. I couldn't do it. So
Right.
You ever think to yourself, because a lot of folks listening now would be like, Vaughn's done a lot, lots of passion and drive. I can relate to that, but the reality is, that rainy, muddy day, like you kept going through that, but did you have any rudiment to keep you sane and to keep you to the point where you could just go with your gut and passion? What I'm asking is, how did you relax? How did you release? What did you do? Because I think most folks will agree. If we're running and gunning with what we want to do, boy, oh boy, we still need a break from that to set clarity. How did you set clarity? Because you were running and gunning.
I've always liked to work. I'm the guy that'll work sun up to sundown and not take a break and not eat. But it's without my faith. I couldn't do it without the faith that I have in God. He's the one that leads me, guides me. I'm the guy you said when you turned 21, if you had your first drink. And the rare story is that I've never tasted alcohol. When I was in junior high, kids were getting high at the bus stop, and I looked at them and I said, if that's what drugs and alcohol do to you, I want nothing to do it. My focus is what I want to do. I want to retire at the age of 40. I want to be able to own a business and then pull out and sell the business or whatever the case may be at an early age and travel and retire. My life has taken a total different route than what I planned. I didn't plan on doing what I'm doing. It's society, it's the customers that have kind of guided me and pushed me to go the direction I've gone. This is not what I plan on doing. I'm a hot rod builder, fabricator, welder by trade. I'm not a pinstriper. I'm not a radio DJ. I'm not the guy that's scripted for TV, but that's the direction my life has taken. And it's like, I see an opportunity and I say, well, why can't I do it? Somebody else has done it. I've always had that mentality of if somebody built it, I can take it apart and make it better and faster. So I've always stuck with that. And it's the drive that's in you. And when I was doing this, you got to remember, if you back up when I started all this stuff, I was a punk kid. I was young. I was very young. And I'm trying to break into an old man's society, an old man's business. Hot rodding, street rods, custom cars is disposable income. It's their third and fifth car that they have. So they have disposable income that they really don't need the car. My business, they didn't need my business. It's a luxury. When we went to Desert Storm and War, I remember working in the dark because I couldn't afford the electricity bill. But it was my passion. I would turn the lights off, work, and I'd see a customer come up and I'd run and turn the music on and turn the lights on so they thought everything was normal. But there are times when I just didn't have any money to even pay the electric bill. I'm negotiating with my landlord, can I pay you weekly on my rent because I couldn't afford the rent? And again, it's my drive. It's what I wanted to do. And again, it's without the faith in God that I couldn't do it. There's just no way I couldn't do it. There were the opportunities that opened up and he'd lead me and guide me, and off I went. And when I was doing this early on, nobody gave me a break. Nobody gave me the time of day. I wanted to do this, and everybody was a tight-knit on the secrets. And I said, man, if I ever make it, I'm going to share with everybody. There's not going to be any secrets that I'm going to hold back. I'm going to share. I'm going to tell kids. I'm going to, teach them, because there's got to be a Von Hot Rod behind me. I can't do this forever. If once I pass, if I don't share my secrets, they're gone. And I don't want to see that. I want to be able to share with as many as I can so they can live their dream. They can do what they want to do. They can walk their walk and have the car that they want or own the business that they want. Not everybody's into the car end of it, but there's so much more you can do for the car industry.
Yeah, if you just...
I got petrol running in my veins.
No, man, you're passionate, because I think a lot of what you're saying, some are listening and they absolutely feel the vibes. But I think what we're witnessing here, Von, is not only never accepting a no on your part, but part of your drive is like, and we mentioned this earlier, and I mentioned it with our crew, and it's just been a staple. I don't even know where I get it from, but you can't do nothing in life if you don't make other people better. And I think a lot of what you're saying was my drive. But within that, you made a lot of things happen, and you made a lot of other people better, man. You just can't exist without it. And I think you haven't said that, but that is absolutely what you're about. VonHotRodShop.com. Visit that. Von, I want to get into it, and I appreciate the up-tempo.
Thanks.
Pinstriping. Is that a lost art? What are we doing with pinstriping? Give us a sense. I mean, you're in it. You're laying out some lines. You've been all over the world.
Right.
What's your thought on pinstriping currently? Where's the future going?
Pinstriping, what's really crazy about it now is social media has made it so mainstream, where before there was, just a handful of guys in Southern California that were doing it. Your Dean Jeffries, your Larry Watsons and stuff like that. And there was just a handful. Social media came out, and now there's pinstripers everywhere. They're coming out of the woodwork. What I like about it is it's slow learn, it's blue collar, it's hands-on. You've got to use your heart, your mind, your hands. Everything has to be in sync. And it's not a click and go, like I said before. You can't just click and make it happen.
How'd you get started, Von? Some are listening, and they may be dropping lines on their ride. They watch a couple of YouTube videos. How'd you get started?
Right. I had the hot rod shop, and I had a striper that would come in on a Saturday because we were flipping cars. We were always buying and selling and fixing up hot rods and stuff like that. And we'd add pinstriping to it just to push it, to the edge and get a little bit more money out of it. And the car started getting a lot of TV coverage, magazine coverage, and he started getting that he wanted to get the notoriety. And I said, you're under the umbrella of the hot rod shop. Everybody's underneath it. you don't go down the list and say this is built by or this is upholstered by and stuff like that. It's under the umbrella. You know, when you get a car from Chip Foose, it's a Chip Foose design. It's by Chip Foose. There's 100 guys that had their hand upon it, but it's under the umbrella of Chip. And that was the idea. So we started getting an attitude, and I said, you know what? Here's the deal. I just paid him his money. I go, I'll just do it myself. And he kind of made fun of me.
Somehow, some way, we just didn't see you saying, I can't do this.
Right, yeah. Yeah. So he made fun of me, and I was like, you know, that put a fire underneath me. And I was like, you know, that just can't happen. So Wednesday, when I sent everybody to lunch, we sold pinstriping paint, one shot in my shop, and we sold pinstriping brushes. So I grabbed a can of paint, grabbed the brush, and literally was on the glass case in my showroom floor, and I was just trying to figure this out. I seen how it was done. You know, I watched it for many years, and I said, well, I'm sure there's just a way of doing it. So I practiced there. A customer walks in and says, hey, I didn't know you pinstripe. Me being me said, of course, I've always pinstriped. He said, would you stripe my car? And I said, absolutely. Here's the deal. You got to leave it all day Saturday from 9 to 5. Do not show up any earlier than that and pick it up. He says, okay. Drops it off at 8 o'clock, and it literally took me all day to do that car. All I did was the trunk, the hood, and the dash. I got done with it like at 4:30. And to this day, I never told the guy. It was a 50 Merc, $100,000 car, and I actually pinstriped 3-color design on it. I never told him he was the first guy that I striped this car. And kind of that's what started it. Once I did it, I was like, I like this. I can really do this. And for me, when I did, you have to practice and perfect it. And what I did was I wanted it to be so when a car guy come in with his car, he wanted a pinstripe, I can just grab my brush and paint and go. I don't pre-draw. I don't grid it. If it's a flat hood, I'll draw a center line, but I literally don't draw anything. I go off the top of my head. I match the theme of the car. I wanted it to be the wow factor for the guy. When he looks at it, he knows that it was 100% hand done. It was done off the top of my head. I didn't pre-draw. They always ask me, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I don't know until I get in the zone. Well, what's it going to be like? I don't know until I start.
Right.
Right on. You guys.
Me up because I really don't have any explanation of how it works. It's a God-given talent that I can't explain. I was at a show in Scottsdale, Arizona. At a Good Guy show in Pleasanton, and I was striping this car. It was a candy lime-colored, beautiful paint job. And I'm striping the hood, and the guy behind me, the owner, was going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, smoking cigarettes. He was super nervous, going back and forth. And I noticed his pacing started getting slower and slower and slower and slower. And finally he walked up to me and he goes, okay, now I see what I'm paying for. This looks amazing. He goes, thank you very much. And, you know, it's stuff like that when you earn that trust. Once you grab one customer, you'll have 5 of his best friends. And as in no end in sight, there's just no way. I still say in 30-30, there's going to be a kid in a dirt parking lot striping a space shuttle. I just think it's just going to go that way.
I want you guys to get on to Instagram. Check out Von Hot Rod. Before we go, please tell us. We want to send as many of our Wrench Nation familia over to your radio show. You do it all, man. You got a radio show cooking. Where can folks catch that?
Yeah, they can catch it. You can ask Alexa, Siri, or, go on the TuneIn app. It's KQLH 92.5. It's every Wednesday from 12 to 1. And I'm playing, 50s rock and roll, honky-tonk, rockabilly, jump swing. They're giving me freedom. And it's been a lot of fun. I mean, I play your typical, Little Richard, Bill Haley comments, but I also mix in some Josie Cruiser, the Collins Kids, some Johnny Cash, some Janice Martin, Josie Cruiser, Kim Lynch, Big Sandy. In the 90s, rockabilly and jump swing started making a comeback. And there was, Brian Setzer and the Stray Cats were the only one that got airtime. But there are so many bands in the background that never got the airtime that are just really good. And these are all the bands that I play from. I play from the 40s, basically all the way to the 90s, and it has been a lot of fun. I am a hot rod builder. I am not a radio DJ, so I mess up all the time. But it's been a lot of fun. We have a lot of followers. The radio station really loves it. They're really happy with the followers that we've, produced from it. It's just been great. It's been really good. We've had a lot of interviews with some of the older bands and the younger guys that come out, so it's been really, really good.
VonHotRodShop.com. We want to send folks over there. Please check out all things Von Hot Rod, man. Get on to Instagram. You can see some of the wonderful projects that he's got going on, as well as some of the beautiful lines, laying those art lines on some amazing
Thank you.
vehicles. This show is
Thank you.
never just, it's not enough time, Greg.
It runs out so quick.
Yeah.
But let's not forget about the charity at Benedict Castle coming.
Yeah,
Let's
we
not
did.
forget
We did
that.
talk about that. So the Benedict, we're going to make sure to have that in the show notes
Yeah,
here,
for sure.
as well as we'll keep an eye on that and get it on to our social.
And then, of course, I'm going to get you guys to try and broadcast live out there this next year.
We would
So
love that.
keep-
You know, we
keep that in the back of your head.
man, we appreciate that, Vaughn. Not enough time, man. This is what stinks about it. You know how it is, radio. But visit VaughnHotRodShop.com. Thank you, Vaughn, for all you do, brother. Keep laying those beautiful lines, and
Thank
we
you.
appreciate you hanging with Wrench Nation.
We'll see you soon.
Awesome, guys. We'll see you later.
Yeah, don't overthink it, man.
Right?
What do they say? I mentioned it earlier. Over planning sometimes kills the magic.
Yes, it does.
Let it go, man. If you've got something you're really wanting to do, jump in there. That's what the summary of this show was. Von Hot Rod just
And
said,
don't
hey,
be
let's
scared
do
to
it.
fail, like we talked about.
Yeah, you got to bump and grind and you hurt yourself a little bit. It's okay. Life will keep moving. So we appreciate you guys hanging out. As I tell you every week, be safe, hug each other, and never forget to hug a mechanic.